G'day everyone, welcome back to another episode of Richard Does Stuff. I figured it was time for an update. You may have guessed, things look a bit different. We're under lockdown at the moment. I've been working from home, but the camera broke. So with a broken camera, I couldn't film. So instead I thought, right, do I stop filming? Do I stop doing the work? No. While I'm waiting to get this thing sorted out, I thought I'll still fix the bench up, I'll still get things done. So I figured it was time to take you guys for a bit of a tour around where we're at and then what there's still left to do, because there's a lot left to do. So let's have a look and see what's going on, where we're at, and let's talk about what the next pieces are. I was about to say next steps. I work in an office. Terrible, terrible language. We'll see what we need to do. Get this place moving. Okay, so this is the workspace that I'm currently working on putting together. You'll notice that things have changed quite a bit. So let's have a bit of a walkthrough. But before we do that, I'll give you a quick look at where we were and what that bit looks like. And I'll give you a quick explanation on that one too. So the other half of the garage is actually looking not too bad. There's a big rowing machine in the middle there. We're in the middle of lockdown, so I needed some form of exercise, so that's sitting there for that. I still haven't quite worked out how I'm going to deal with all of that. But at the moment, it's mostly storage. Over there, we've got an air conditioner that needs to be fixed. I just need to seal that hose at the bottom, so we might do that in a video, who knows. I've got my bandsaw there. It's probably going to move up the other end at some point when I find it. I've got it open at the moment. The blade is blunt. I need to replace the blade, so I've taken the blade out so I can work out what size blade I've got so I can get that replaced. And just some more stuff, storage over here. Don't worry about this too much. There's the sound desk that we're going to fix a little bit later on. I've got another drop saw here that I use from time to time, but it's sitting there at the moment because that's the best place to put it where it's out the way. So without further ado, let's go have a look at the rest of the shed and rest of the workshop, and I'll show you where things are and where we're up to. So in the Let's Build a Workbench video, I said I was going to find some wood to put some shelves underneath the workbench. As you can see, I've found some wood for the workbench. Where did I find that wood? Well, over here we have a pantry, or it was a pantry in a friend's kitchen. Originally it was going to go to my daughter's. We were going to put it in her place for some storage for her, but it's a big unit and there was no wall space that it was going to fit on, so it was no good to her. So it's come here into the garage, and what I've done is I've used the doors to make my shelves. So what else have we done to the workbench? Because the workbench has had a fair bit done to it. As you can see, we have a vise. Good working vise. Although I do want to change that handle because I don't like that handle sticking out. I want a handle that's going to drop out of the way. Right. I've run power across the floor to here, so I've got some power point on the shelf. So I've got some power there rather than have to run power from the corner all the time. Had an old fruit box up the back. So I've put some wheels on the bottom of it. Anyone need a rag? I've got plenty of rags. Nice and easy to access whenever I need one. I've put some hanging space up there to put my clamps on it. Keeps them where they're nice and handy to use while I'm working. That vacuum's currently living there. It gets used a lot while I'm cleaning up. So I'll find somewhere better to put it later on, but you never know. We'll see. I even made a nice little drawer here using some runners that I had. Right, just with various bits and pieces. They're the remote controls for the TV there, the radio over there, and a few other bits and pieces. And using some other, or some old light fittings and that I got, I made this lovely lamp. So I like the idea of this one because I can move it around, so I can put it on the workspace I'm working on. I can move it there, nice and bright, which gives me some good light on what I'm working on if I need it. At the moment, it's just sitting in this corner, right? So it's sitting in this corner. I've made a hole in here, so it just sits in that hole, sits here. I can use it. This was an old lamp stand. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make holes in that corner, and that corner, and that corner, so I can move it round to where I need it. And that's the battery pack for it there. So the battery pack's there. I'm going to sort the wiring out so that we don't have wires dangling everywhere. I might make a few plugs around the corners of it so that it all fits in nicely. So I don't have wires dangling everywhere. So over here on this bench before, that was where we had our table saw. Now I'm going to do another video on the table saw because as you can see, that is not a table saw, that's a drill press. I've moved that over there recently. It was up the other end of the garage. Hard to use up there. Brought it up here where I can use it. So, and instead, we have this table saw. Won't go into it too much now. I'll go into the reasons why I swapped this one for the other one. Mostly because of the functionality, and I'll explain why and how I got this at a pretty good deal too. So I've got a few tools living under there. That's my sander. I can just pull it out up on the bench when I need it with a belt sander and a disc on it. Nice and handy to use. I've got some storage of tools there, and I'm sort of working out what tools are going to live here, what ones aren't. Box under there for storing some stuff. Over here we still have the lathe, and it's still a mess over here because this piece is still a work in progress. I'm still working out exactly how to do that because I want to bring the bandsaw up here, so I'm trying to work out exactly how that's all going to fit up here. But what I have done to make life a bit more useful is I've sorted out a whole lot of screws and everything, so I know where all the screws are, you know, where I've got the hooks, roofing bolts, other screws there. Nice little box up there that I can pull down with all of the different screws from 4mm up to about 8 or 10mm. All right. Also, air compressor sitting here. I'm going to try and build a little house outside for it so that when I'm using it in a video, you don't have to listen to it because it really is quite noisy. It's a cheap old one. I got it for the sum total of $0, which is a fantastic price for anything. Although you can pick them up at our local tip recycling centre for about $40 each, which is also a pretty good deal too. So down in here in the cupboard, I've got a whole pile of electrical bits and pieces there. I've got all some air tools down there. Up here I've got all sanding, grinding equipment with the grinder sitting in there with a cut-off disc on it. These are a whole pile of various cables, or audio cables, electrical cables and other cables that are sitting there waiting to be used. That's got another pile of electronic components and whatnot. I'm still sorting through how this is all going to work, and there's some things up on that top shelf that are going to be projects that I'm going to work on. I'm not sure what to do with some of those things yet, but I'm working through them. So we've also put up some shelves over here. Let me move this out the way. So we've got some shelves over here. Up the top there, it's a wonderful old clock. We picked that up at a market a couple of months ago. I don't know exactly how old on it, but the copyright stamp on the mechanism inside is from 1886, I think. I'm going to have a crack at restoring that. There's a bit of research to do because I don't want to destroy it. It is a beautiful clock and it will look fantastic when it's done. So on these shelves here, I'm just putting some more tools on these shelves, just so I've got access to them when I need them. There's not a lot more to talk about for this. So, you know, a bunch of screwdrivers here, pair of chairs, so I can sit down and have a chat with somebody or sit down while I'm working. Makes life a little bit easier. So, you know, I've got some cupboards sitting up here. This one's got all my PPE equipment in it. This one's got glues and things in it. The surface of these, this is chalkboard material, so I can actually make some notes on things as I go. Whiteboard might have been better, but I had chalkboard paint, so I've used chalkboard paint. And the rest of this place is just some general storage. I have sorted out a whole lot of the wood in here, so it's easier to access. I've actually made, this is actually bolted in place to hold it all together. So I've actually got somewhere decent to work on this. I'm still sorting out exactly what I'm going to put in all of these shells and how I'm going to sort it all out. But I said, this is a work in progress, and we've made some really good progress. We've cleaned out a lot of rubbish. We've got some space stored out. So we're going to see what we can do with this space. So this has just been a very quick update on where we are, where we're going. We're getting things moving along. What I want to do through the series is I don't have a lot of spare cash to buy really expensive tools. And one thing that has always bugged me, well, not always bugged me, that I've seen quite a few YouTubers who may do some really cool woodwork and make some really cool stuff, and they're using laser cutters, water cutters, some seriously expensive table saws. Your average punter just doesn't have the cash for that. I know I don't. So I make do with the cheap stuff. It's like my drill press, right? Aldi special, right? The table saw I picked it up for 90 bucks. I'll probably flog my old one for 50. So total cost of a table saw for me is going to be 40 bucks to top grade it. And the original table saw wasn't much more than about 80 or 90 bucks either. Most of the tools I've got here are a fairly low cost. I try and upgrade them to something better if I use the tool a lot. But for a tool I don't use very often, spending a fortune is not something that makes a lot of sense. Right, so what I want to do through this series is show you that you can actually do things and you can make things, decent stuff and fix stuff without having to spend a fortune and building a really expensive workshop, right? Hard work, bit of intelligence, and we'll learn some tricks and tips, and we'll get some stuff done. So, like, share, subscribe, if you know you want to. We're going to have some fun. We're going to build some stuff. We're going to make some mistakes. I am going to make a lot of mistakes. I'm going to show you those mistakes, and I'm going to show you how I deal with those mistakes. Whether it's swear quietly to myself and start again, or whether we can fix it. Right? Every now and then I'd make something really cool. Who knows? Come along for the journey with me. Like, share, subscribe. Let's have some fun in the workshop, hey? Till next time, guys. See you soon. Remember I said I was going to have an electrical workbench? It's like a lot of other places in here. It's full of rubbish. We're going to get to clean that too at some point, and we're going to get that sorted because I want to get that working as well. It's just another mess to clean up. We'll get it done. Cheers.